Jesus said something fascinating to the religious leaders of his day. He said, "If you believed Moses, you would believe me, for Moses wrote of me." Now, he was talking to men who had read and studied the books written by Moses: Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. These were books they'd read their whole lives. So they must have scratched their heads and wondered what Jesus was talking about when he said that Moses had written about him. It was later, after his resurrection, that Jesus spent 40 days with his disciples teaching them how to understand the Old Testament scriptures, helping them to see how it is all most profoundly about him. In the Lamb of God, seeing Jesus in the Old Testament, we make our way through the story of Israel's deliverance from slavery in Egypt, receiving God's law at Sinai, and wandering in the wilderness on their way to the Promised Land, discovering together what these books have to teach us about the deliverer God sent to liberate us from captivity to sin, about the Lamb of God that has been provided, whose blood protects us from judgment, about the salvation he accomplished as he brings us through the waters of death. We see that Jesus is the bread that has come down from heaven to feed us in the wilderness of this world. In fact, Jesus fulfills everything the tabernacle and priesthood and sacrificial system were set up to accomplish.
Imagine if Jesus himself were to take us on a tour of the tabernacle, showing us how he was the substance that cast the tabernacle's shadows. We would see that everything about the tabernacle pointed to some aspect of his character and work. When he took us through the courtyard, perhaps he would point to the bronze altar and say that when he offered himself as the perfect once-for-all sacrifice, he put an end to the sacrifices of bulls and goats, which never had the power to take away sin.
Jesus was also clothed as a priest, just as Aaron was. Certainly, he didn't wear the ornate ephod and bejeweled breastpiece and holy to the Lord headpiece. These were merely outer garments the priests wore that were designed to point to he who was truly holy, glorious, and beautiful through and through in his person. Jesus was robed in royal righteousness and had written across every aspect of his life, holy to the Lord. Leviticus is not an ancient guidebook for a healthy diet and disease prevention, though many people have tried to reduce it to that. Leviticus is a living picture of God's rejection of the effects of sin on humanity and creation, and his intention to one day set everything right. Every day, as you avoided what would make you unclean or dealt with what had made you unclean, it would be a reminder to you that the Lord had not forgotten how he made the world before human sin, and that he will not forget his promise to make all things new. I hope you'll consider using the Lamb of God, seeing Jesus in Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy, to study these incredible books of the Bible along with me. We'll see that the Bible, from beginning to end, from Abel bringing a sacrifice from his flocks in Genesis, to the Revelation picture of the Lamb on the throne of the universe, the Bible is the story of the Lamb of God, the Lamb of God who takes away the sin of the world.